Welcome to the Personal Finance Workbench. Today I'd like to discuss selling jewelry. I hear an awful lot of discussion lately about the upcoming recession. And when a recession hits, people lose their jobs, and unemployed people often try and sell their jewelry for cash. This might be a problem if you're not used to negotiating the sale of jewelry on a regular basis. You could end up leaving some cash on the table and not getting top dollar. So I would like to give you a couple of tips that might help you in your negotiations. First of all, when you go to sell it, you should bring a friend with you. Don't go alone. A friend, hopefully a friend, who asks a lot of questions. Somebody who's not shy. Somebody who is willing to ask a lot of questions and pretend that they really don't understand what's going on. That's because tip number 2 is you want to go slow. If you bring a friend and the friend asks a lot of questions, that will tend to slow down the whole process of selling the jewelry. And you really need time to think about what's going on. For you, selling a piece of jewelry is probably something which happens only a few times in your life. But the person on the other side of the negotiation, they're probably involved in purchasing jewelry many times of the day. And that means that you're up against a professional, somebody who knows what they're doing. And in that instance, my experience has been you want the negotiation to go slowly, with your friend asking a lot of questions and you making sure that you understand exactly what's going on. And if you don't feel good about what's going on, that brings us to tip number 3. Stop and walk away. If you're in the middle of the deal or you're toward the end of the deal and they put the piece of paper in front of you and you really don't feel like signing it at that point, you think maybe you're getting ripped off or you just don't feel right about it, don't be afraid to just stop and say thank you very much, but I've changed my mind, and walk away. Don't worry about being embarrassed. These things happen all the time in the business. And that brings us to the 4th tip, which is to know the value of the piece of jewelry before you go to sell it. I've left this tip for last because it's really the most difficult. How do you know what something is worth before you go ahead and sell it? So first, let's talk about stones. And the reason is I'm not going to talk about stones. If we're talking about a piece of jewelry that has diamonds or emeralds or semi-precious stones, these are very unique pieces. Engagement rings have most of the value, as a general rule, in the stone and not in the gold or the platinum or whatever metal is holding the stone in place. When you're talking about diamonds, you need to get appraisals, usually multiple appraisals from reputable people in the business. I wish I could tell you in one short video how to determine the value of a diamond or an emerald or a sapphire or even semi-precious stones, but the truth is I can't. And if you're trying to sell a piece of jewelry with very valuable stones in it, you really need to seek out professional help. So to sell the piece of jewelry, to understand the value of it, you need to know 3 numbers. You need to know the weight of the part in grams, you need to know the carat content, and you need to know the price of gold on the day that you go to sell it. The price of gold is the easiest. You can just go onto the internet and type in price of gold today, and the internet will tell you exactly what gold is selling for per troy ounce. The actual calculation is pretty straightforward. You take the weight of the piece of jewelry in grams, you multiply it by the price of gold in dollars per troy ounces, you multiply that by 0.583 for 14 carat, and then you divide by 31.1. For 10 carat, that 0.583 number is replaced by 0.417. And these will give you approximate values for what the gold is worth. Now, of course, there are a couple of issues with this calculation. The first issue is that you're not going to get full value for gold on the day that you sell it. The people that need to melt it down and refine it are going to charge money to do that, so you're not going to get 100% of the value. Depending upon how much gold you have for sale, you may get a much lower value for your piece of jewelry. Another problem with this is that it does not include the silver. Now, we've been talking about gold jewelry, but a lot of gold jewelry actually contains silver, maybe 5% or 10% silver, and you're not going to get paid for the value of the silver that's in the gold piece. I've also been assuming that you are in fact dealing with a piece of fine gold jewelry. You need to make sure, before you even go to the jewelry store, that the part is made from fine gold jewelry. And one of the ways you can do that is by holding a strong magnet up to it and making sure that it's not costume jewelry. This isn't a foolproof method, but if the part that you're holding is very strongly attached to the magnet, then it may be made from something like stainless steel, which has been electroplated gold, and it may have no real value as far as jewelry scrap. This is often a disappointing process for people who are trying to sell their jewelry. Either they discover that it's not made from gold, or that the diamonds aren't really diamonds, or that very often a piece which they thought was extremely valuable turns out to be not worth very much money at all. But please stick to the first rules that I did give you on this. Make sure that you bring a friend with you that goes to the place wherever you're going to sell your gold. Make sure you go slowly and understand the transaction which is happening. And don't be afraid to walk away if there's a problem. Good luck to you, and good luck selling your gold at top value. Good luck to all of us.